I'm Devin, and I'm going to be talking about illegal immigration. My main claim or propositional point is that President Trump's executive order to build the border wall will not deter illegal immigrants from crossing into the U.S. I have two supporting claims, one of which is the U.S. Western states, such as California, Nevada, Arizona, and Texas, are economically tied to Mexico's borderlands. My first bibliography piece is from Morning Edition, and it's from Claudia Smith, who is an attorney and border activist. And she quotes, all that building a wall at the San Diego, California, Tijuana border has achieved is to shift the traffic from the mountains to the desert, end quote. This change in migration patterns also have taken place at El Paso, Texas, and Juarez, the Mexican border. So increased migration increased migrant border crossing is currently taking place at Brownsville or Matamoros border, which is a for non-Mexican migrants entering the U.S. through the state of Louisiana. Going to my second point from PewHispanic.org, the Mexican immigrants are the remaining of the unauthorized immigrant population, but the estimated numbers that have come through are 5.8 million in 2014, but it has declined 500,000 since 2009. Meanwhile, the number of unauthorized immigrants from other nations that have come in, especially from Asia and Central America, have grown from 325,000 people per year since 2009, but as of 2014, the most recent headcount of non-Mexican immigrants has estimated to 5.3 million in 2014. And my last piece of evidence for my first headline is from the Los Angeles Times, which comes from El Paso, Texas, and Juarez. The two cities are divided, which has created social consequences between the two because they work together. On the Mexican side, you have whole cities that have been divided because you have male workers trying to come into the U.S. and trying to make money for their families to bring back money or goods, and they're left with the women and children in hostels or just like basic apartments, and you have drug cartels coming in and trying to occupy the space and destroy the civic and communities that they're used to living in, which creates downfall. Multiple generations of families have been separated for over 10 years or longer, depending on how far the men have been gone. And then getting to my second point, which is the United States should be modeling other programs to develop entry-level skills and bring in skilled trades from around the globe. According to the book, the Immigration Solution, A Better Plan Than Today's, talks about the two closest countries that model the U.S. are Australia and Ireland, and they have targeted immigration priorities by creating more rational systems to bring people in. These countries encourage development of lower-level skilled people there and make them get an education so that they can come forth to the U.S. to improve the economy and help the U.S. build from where it's at. So with this, the immigration can immigration can provide America with badly needed skills to help raise immigrants toward living a better life and improve America's economy and boost productivity and growth.
Right, Devin, well, the proposition's clear, but the secondary points are not as clear as they should be. There's not really a preview of what the structure is, and when you're citing those points as you get to them, they're not as distinctive as they should be. The first point talks about how the western states are tied to Mexico, and the second point seems to be that we need to model on something that other people are doing when it comes to bringing in skilled workers. But your claim is that the border wall will fail to mitigate immigration. So how that second point applies to that is not clear. It's not clear how it's relevant. It's relevant to a more general issue about immigration and what our immigration policies should be. So your proposition probably needs to be adjusted a little bit if you want to include that second point. The first point suggests that they are closely tied. The question then becomes whether or not the wall is effective. And the one argument that you have on effectiveness simply suggests that you've got some good information on that first point that suggests that where they've built the wall, it simply shifted the traffic to another spot. And for example, that it's resulted in immigrants from other places taking up the slack that's going on there as a consequence, and so we still have a problem there. And I think that those are pretty good arguments when it comes to the evidence that you have, although I think a lot of people would suggest that, well, that's why we need to build that wall across the desert and not just, at the current border crossings. We need to have something that's more consistent. So then the question becomes, is that really going to be effective? And the closest you come to talking about something like that concerns Louisiana, and I wasn't sure what it was you were saying there about that. I don't know if it's that there's some spot there where they can't build the wall and everybody will go there, or they'll simply, get in a boat and come up into the deltas. I wasn't sure what your point was there, so that was a little confusing. The second argument about some other policy being more effective, I think that's an interesting point, and that could be maybe the focus of your claim if you want to deal with the immigration issue. It might be a good argument to suggest that trying to control immigration from Mexico is less useful than trying to instead of trying to prevent it, that we should control it by seeking out people who are skilled, training those people who aren't skilled, and making sure that people get integrated into the economy. I think there's maybe an argument to be made there, but that's not really very well developed. I was a little bit confused because, in essence, you get this whole description of how Juarez and El Paso are two separate cities. They've got different things that's going on. The men are here basically working, and the women and kids are there, and it's all hell. And I'm going, and why is that the fault of the wall? If they've been here for 10 years and their country, they're not supporting their families, that just sounds like it's a problem with immigration, that they are here instead of there where their families are. And I could see the advocates of building the wall saying, see, if they'd stayed home, if we'd been able to keep them home, we wouldn't have this problem that you're talking about. You're kind of attributing it to the barrier, but it seems to me like it's not attributable so much to the barrier as it is to the circumstances that they are in. So I think that's a little bit problematic. And then I was confused because it sounds like Ireland and Australia have some policy, but you made it sound like they were talking about getting people ready to go to the United States, and that doesn't make any sense at all. I think your argument is that Ireland and Australia have a policy that is working for them where they're integrating immigrant workers, and that we could be doing the same sort of thing. I think that's the argument that you're trying to make. But the way you present it, it makes it sound like well, the illegal immigrants go to Australia and then they can get here and it'll be a good job for them. I'm going, huh? That doesn't make sense. And I know that that's not the point that you were trying to make, but that's the way it came across. So you need to be a little bit more careful in constructing that part of the argument. All right, thank you.